Good evening, everybody. This is Jeff Brown in Beijing for another Radio Sinoland show. Today is May 17th, 2015, and the title of tonight's program is China, Russia, and India Family Style. On May 9th, I already commented about another show about the 70th anniversary Great Victory over a fascism parade that was held in Moscow, May 9th, and there was also a regiment of Indian grenadier soldiers who marched. The Indians marched across Red Square, watched by their president Pranab Mukherjee, and immediately behind them was followed the China's regiment of 112 soldiers. They were in three colors to represent the People's Liberation Army, Air Force, Army, and Navy. They, of course, were watched and saluted by Xi Jinping, China's president, who sat on Russian President Vladimir Putin's right side. Xi was sitting next to the president of Kazakhstan, President Nazarbayev, and he was actually in Kazakhstan before going to the Moscow parade to sign billions of dollars in deals with Kazakhstan and reinforce their ties, and also to send a message to the West that the Eurasian alliance is as strong as ever. Putin has praised the Kazakhstan President Nazarbayev repeatedly, saying that it was his vision to establish the Eurasian Union and to keep as many of the former Soviet republics together collectively to protect themselves. She, of course, after Moscow, went on to Belarus, which is a member of the Eurasian Union, and again signed billions of dollars of deals. And of course, it goes without question that she and Putin also signed billions of dollars of deals for infrastructure, aerospace, energy, on and on and on. Then think about this. This is, to the fact that India, Russia, and China were represented in the victory parade in Moscow, with not one Western leader to be found on Russian soil that day, is a fat middle finger to Uncle Sam specifically and the West in general. So then she flew back home, and for the last 3 days, India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, has been in China, and he was visiting Xi, and China's Premier, Li Keqiang. The Premier in China is kind of like a vice president. And Modi left China with 26 deals signed, worth about $20 billion. Again, ports, aerospace, energy, infrastructure, on and on and on. It's interesting to note that former Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping said back when he was the paramount leader in the 80s and early 90s that the only way the 21st century can be an Asian century is if India and China make it so. In other words, they need to be partners hand in hand. That has now been, that partnership is now on steroids, with Russia joining into the pact. Xi, Modi, and Li took a big step towards resolving their border disputes by agreeing to proactively begin meeting diplomatically and militarily on a regular basis, I think twice a year. They also, for the first time ever, have set up red phones to quickly resolve any border disputes. None of this has happened before. There was actually a small war between China and India back in 1962, and there's been pot shots that go back and forth over the years. But it is now time, obviously, for them to take steps towards resolving this. China is now calling Modi a future Nixon-style statesman for his pragmatism, insights, and creativity to solve stubborn problems. And the border dispute, of course, the West loves to, make it sound like it's the end of the world, but it is a big deal. We're not talking about an island or a little sliver of land. We're talking about 128,000 square kilometers, and China's is in the in Tibet, on their southern flank, on the northern side of India, especially the Jammu Kashmir region, has tremendous religious significance for the Hindus. So both countries, unfortunately, have many citizens. The majority of each of their citizens don't want to give up a square meter to the other side. But obviously, if this is ever going to be resolved in a formal treaty, like China and Russia have done, and Mongolia and North Korea, etc., both sides are going to have to make some sacrifices in order to achieve this. And I think the impetus with what the West is doing to destabilize China, Russia, I think India realizes they could be next. And there's obviously a huge impetus to try to get this solved. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but at least now they're taking proactive steps. This is the first time in over 50 years. Then next, the first president of the new development bank of the BRICS alliance, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is going to be an Indian, a very well-respected banker, financier named K.V. Kamath. Then, right on cue, Russia has apparently invited Greece to become the sixth member of the BRICS group to join, and also, of course, to join the new development bank. Of course, as you know, Greece owes some absurd amount of money, like $242 billion to the IMF and the World Bank and European and American banks. And the World Bank and the IMF have plundered Greece's human, natural, financial, and infrastructural resources, and has left it absolutely desolate. So Greece's Prime Minister Tsipras will attend the World Economic Forum in St. Petersburg, Russia next month, and apparently to start the formal procedures to join the BRICS group. This is again another giant FU to the West hallowed post-World War II institutions such as the World Bank and the IMF, and along with China's Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, it is making the West's international institutions more and more irrelevant. So, how does the United States respond to all of this? Well, last week, right on cue, like any insecure, militarized, bully empire, what else? The United States issues threats and scare tactics. And of course, this was timed perfectly to happen during Modi's visit to China. But the Wall Street Journal, a U.S. government mouthpiece newspaper, published an article saying that the United States was seriously considering moving warships in the South China Sea within 12 nautical miles. That's as close as you can get to an international border by international maritime law, which is 22 kilometers. And the United States is seriously considering parking warships around the Spratly Islands, which the Chinese and the Filipinos are contesting. And so who rolls in? John Kerry, the Department of State Secretary of State from the United States rolls in right as Modi takes off, Kerry lands, and to issue these threats to the Chinese. He met with his counterpart, Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who said that, kind of a tongue-in-cheek irony, he said that China's commitment to building infrastructure and airstrips, etc., on the Spratly Islands is, quote, solid as a rock. And, of course, the reason that the Chinese are doing this is because last winter Obama went to the Philippines and got President Aquino to agree. I don't know what, he twisted arms or bought him off or whatever. But anyway, Aquino agreed to allow 1,000 U.S. soldiers to be permanently based on a Filipino base in the Philippines. Ostensibly, it's supposed to be under Filipino rule, but we know that's nothing but a fig leaf. This really upset the Chinese. Plus, what also is not mentioned is that the Filipinos have also already built infrastructure on the Spratly Islands as well. So the situation is that the Americans are saying that they want to guarantee the freedom of passage in the South China Seas, the free movement of ships in the South China Seas. This has never been a problem. The Americans are just making this up as a pretext to contain, harass, and control China. We all know this. And I would just like for Americans to ask themselves how they would feel if the Chinese Navy parked warships 12 nautical miles off the San Juan Islands next to Seattle, or parked warships off the Catalina Islands 12 nautical miles outside of Los Angeles, or 12 nautical miles surrounded Hawaii with warships, and 12 nautical miles from Oahu. And now you know how it feels. You too would feel enraged and threatened. So this is the situation we have right now. I will do another quick show about something that happened in Burma this last week that probably involves the United States too. But clearly the United States only has one answer to China, Russia, and India building a landlocked fortress that spans the entire Eurasian continent, and that is threats and the possibility of war with China and Russia, and of course the Ukraine, etc. Anyway, have a good evening. I'll do another quick show about Burma or Myanmar, and have a good evening. Bye bye.